They tried to frame my son for a crime he didn't commit, but I was one step ahead. I was washing dishes when I saw two police cruisers pull up in front of our house. For a second, I thought maybe there'd been an accident on the street, until I saw the officers get out, walk up our driveway, and knock firmly on my door. My stomach twisted. My 9-year-old son Ethan was in the living room building Legos, humming to himself. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the door. "Mrs. Keller?" one of the officers asked. "We have a warrant to question your son regarding a robbery that occurred last night." I blinked. "Excuse me?" The other officer flipped open a folder. "There's video footage placing him at the scene. A witness confirmed his name." My knees went weak. "He's 9 years old," I whispered. "What robbery?" They exchanged a glance. "A small jewelry store downtown, around 9:30 p.m. Your son's name was given by an anonymous tip." I felt my pulse pounding in my ears. "He was home with me all night. We were watching a movie. He went to bed at 9. "Can we come in?" the taller officer asked. Ethan looked up, confused. "Mom? What's happening?" "It's fine, sweetie," I said quickly, forcing calm. "Everything's fine." Inside, the officers asked him a few questions, gentle ones, but enough to make his small voice tremble. When they left, promising to continue the investigation, I closed the door and sank to the floor. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. The next morning, I went straight to my parents' house. They had always been distant, judgmental, the kind of people who believed appearances mattered more than truth. My younger brother, Mark, had been their golden child since birth. Every mistake he made was a misunderstanding, while every small slip I made became a disgrace. I hadn't spoken to them much since my divorce, but I needed help. Someone to vouch for us, someone with resources. Dad sat back in his chair when I told them what happened. "A robbery?" he said slowly. "That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate?" I snapped. "They think my child, your grandson, robbed a jewelry store. He's 9. Mom sighed. "You've always had a dramatic streak, Emily. Maybe you've been keeping bad company. Children absorb their parents' energy." For a moment, I just stared at her. "You think I taught my kid to steal?" She folded her arms. "I'm saying trouble follows chaos, and your life has been nothing but chaos since the divorce." I stood up. "Forget it. I shouldn't have come." But as I was walking out, I noticed something. Mark leaning against the counter, smirking. "That jewelry store," he said casually. "Wasn't that the same one near Green Street?" I froze. "Yeah, why?" "Oh, nothing," he said, sipping his coffee. "Just weird coincidence." Something about his tone made my blood run cold. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The police, the look on Mark's face, my mother's judgmental calm. Around midnight, I checked my emails, hoping for anything that could help. That's when I saw it. An anonymous message in my inbox with no subject line. "Check the security footage from your parents' house last night." I frowned. There were no cameras at their house, at least none that I knew of. But then I remembered. After a break-in years ago, Dad had installed motion-sensitive security cameras outside. I still had access to the cloud storage because he'd given me the login ages ago, assuming I'd forget. Heart-pounding, I logged in. There, in grainy black and white, was footage from the previous evening. I clicked through the timeline. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 9:15, and then my breath caught. Mark, standing in the driveway, loading something into the back of his car, a black duffel bag. Then, at 9:40 p.m., he returned and handed the same bag to someone waiting in another car. I zoomed in. The license plate was partially visible. The next morning, I took the footage to the police. At first, they seemed skeptical. "Ma'am, this doesn't prove anything," the detective said. "It could be unrelated." "Look at the timestamp," I said firmly. "That's the same night and time as the robbery. My brother has a record. DUI, credit card fraud, unpaid loans. Check the plate, please." "He tried to ruin mine," I said coldly, "and my son's." She didn't deny it. She didn't even sound surprised, just angry, like her perfect facade was cracking. Later that evening, the detective called again. "We've confirmed your son's name was used as a false lead," he said. "They were trying to divert suspicion. Your brother mentioned him by name to his accomplice in a text message. Said, 'Let's say it was Emily's kid. Cops will waste time there.'" I went still. "He framed my son," I whispered. "I'm afraid so. But the good news is, your brother's in custody now. We also found stolen jewelry in his garage." When the call ended, I just sat there staring at Ethan, who was coloring quietly at the kitchen table. I wanted to cry, scream, collapse, but I didn't. I just watched him, my innocent boy, who still believed his family loved him. 3 days later, Mom showed up at my door. She looked tired, older somehow. "Emily," she said softly, "you've made your point. Mark made a mistake, but family forgives." I laughed, not out of humor but disbelief. "Forgives? He framed my child for a felony, Mom." She glanced at Ethan behind me. "He didn't mean for it to go that far. Please, just drop the charges. He's your brother." I stepped aside and gestured to the door. "And he's your problem." When she didn't move, I added quietly, "You chose your favorite years ago. Now live with what that costs." She finally turned and left. In the weeks that followed, my parents tried every trick: guilt, threats, even lawyers. But I didn't budge. The evidence was ironclad, and Mark ended up facing multiple charges. He took a plea deal. My parents stopped calling, and for the first time in years, the silence in my house felt peaceful instead of empty. A few months later, I got another anonymous message. "You did the right thing, but keep your guard up. Family like that doesn't forgive. They plot." I never found out who sent it. Maybe someone from the police. Maybe another person my brother had wronged. But it didn't matter. I had my son, my freedom, and finally, the truth. Now, when Ethan asks why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa anymore, I just tell him, because sometimes family isn't who shares